Okay, so we have a lot to talk about, Shashank, and so little time. Let's get to the first topic, Gemini 1.5. Yeah, crazy. Just last week, Google, they released their model, Gemini 1.0. Now, they're already on 1.5. I don't know, about normal tech releases, but you don't normally go up half a version or 0.5 releases. I don't know what you call that. 5 releases within a week. I don't know if they had the AI coded for them, but this is insanity.
Well, I think you do when your CEO says AI a million times in the keynote.
That's true. That is true. So this new model has a 1 million context window, 1 million token context window, which is so big. Compared to GPT-4, GPT-4 has 120,000 token context window. This is basically 10 times that. And in research, they're working on a 10 million token context window. This is insane. This is literally 100x improvement over the state of the art as of just yesterday, technically.
Yeah. So it is definitely exciting news. So for context, what is a context window? No pun intended.
Yeah.
It is the number of tokens that the model can keep in memory to answer your prompt.
In simple words, it's basically just the total size of the question that you can ask the model.
In layman's terms, total size in terms of words.
Yeah.
Of words. So a token is roughly 70% of a word. So a million token context window equates to maybe 700,000 words.
Yeah. So for example, I think ChatGPT had around the 4,096 token context window. So that means I could put in roughly 3,000 words into my question. This, with 10 million tokens, I could put in the entire Game of Thrones, I don't know, the Library of Congress, maybe not that much, but it's so much.
Yeah, so that equates to 700,000 words if you're talking about the 1 million context window. 30,000 lines of code. It's 11 hours of audio or an hour of video.
So Shashank, what does this mean? What can if I'm a regular person and I just suddenly got unleashed a million or 10 million token context window, what do you think this means? What could we do with this?
I haven't had enough time to let this simmer to think about all the implications, but people used to go to Claude because it had the biggest context window. I think it was 200,000 tokens. So ChatGPT 4 Turbo is nearing that. And to clarify, this is hot off the press, available only for select customers. They're still ironing out the kinks. The average person will get the same as ChatGPT 4 Turbo. So Gemini 1.5 will have a 128,000 token window today, but they will be slowly rolling out the larger, insane 1 million token size. So with that, they showed a couple demos, which are really cool. They put the entire transcript of the Apollo 11's mission into into Gemini. It's become a noun in my head. But they put the entire transcript of that mission and asked it some questions, gave it a little sketch of a children's drawing of a man's foot about to land with an arrow pointing to under the foot, and they're like, "Well, what do you think this means? Tell me something about this drawing." And it was able to accurately give context that, hey, this is Neil Armstrong's first footsteps on the moon, and that's really cool. You can put really long documents. Another cool example with video, they put in a 44-minute Buster Keaton silent film, black and white, and asked it a bunch of questions about when does this one character show the other character a piece of paper, a note with something written on it, and boom, it gives you an exact timestamp. And you pull up the video, and that's when it happens. So it's really cool. You can show it really long pieces of text, documents, movies, audio, and even code. So I think the challenge with code is that your code base grows really, really large, really quickly as your team grows, as the project scales. So it's hard to fit all of that into context. And a lot of these companies that build coding assistants kind of get around it by building RAGs, pulling relevant bits of information, and feeding that into the LLM as context. But with this, you just throw the entire code base.
Yeah. And I think that honestly will be better. I mean, assuming this works well, I mean, both of us haven't tried it yet, but assuming that it can have like good memory over the million or the 10 million token context window, it will maybe start to be able to get to human level programming performance. Or if you think about it, whenever we come up with new ideas, like let's imagine I know all of the things that I know just, through my life experiences, and I read a textbook, right? So like if I read a textbook, I can then apply that to everything else I've learned. Now, if you can just put in a textbook or multiple textbooks into a single context window, like that will rapidly speed up the rate of human intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah. On the flip side, I think it might make developers using these tools a little more lazy. Rather than building really optimized solutions that save you time, money, they might just say, okay, I don't want to build this RAG application. I don't want to figure out how to optimize the chunking size to segment the text from this really large document, to search through it, pull relevant bits. Let me just throw this entire thing into, the big context window.
I think maybe that's okay, because honestly, I think the only people who care about like the intricacies of a program and like how clean the code is the developers themselves, right? Because they're written for other developers. Like, I think in general, leaders at companies or whatever, or like customers, they don't care, right? Like they just care that like the program works and it works well. Like whether or not the code is readable for humans doesn't actually matter.
The customers do care about cost. So if you optimize the prompt and reduce the amount of input that goes in as context, I think that'll make the prompt generation, the response generation faster and cheaper too.
Yeah. I mean, that is true. I mean, for sure, if you could optimize these things, but I mean, this is the most expensive probably ever will be. The cost is just going to go down. And I think that, a couple of years from now, the cost will be so small that it won't even matter.
So, do you think there's been anything, any application that we haven't been able to do because of this limit in context size?
I think one thing is we haven't been able to build large programs. So I know in one of my side projects, I was trying to use it to generate code, and it worked pretty well for smaller programs. But the problem is as the program got bigger, I had to use a bunch of heuristics to try to figure out what piece of the code to work on, like, what file was relevant. But the problem is sometimes, like, when you're working on code with, these models, you can't pass in your entire code base when, like, the entire code base is sometimes useful, or even like the code base of the dependencies you might that you use, you might want to like put in so like how everything works together. So I think that like we're limited in the size of the code that we can use to generate. But now I think that maybe not with 1 million, but with 10 million, that's going to be like able to create a lot of not just toy programs, but entire like companies worth of code. I mean, maybe not like all companies, right? I think like there are some things called like, I don't know, like Windows or probably like, I assume like Apple's operating system might be, you know, tens of millions of billions of lines of code. And, you know, some of these like mega projects like Chrome or something like that are going to be huge. But, you know, for a lot of like mid-sized companies, it's not like they have like hundreds of millions of lines of code. Like they might have like 50,000 lines of code or 100,000 lines of code for like their entire code base potentially. And we're getting to a point where like companies will be able to put their entire code base in and be able to write new modules or features for it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm curious how they or like how much this is going to cost, because they mentioned in their research example where they had 100 million tokens. They said that's the most they can run on their TPUs.
Wow.
So it seems like it's hitting the limits of what is feasible now. But again, like you said, this is the most expensive and the slowest these models will ever be. This is the smallest context size we will ever have.
Did you hear? I heard that NVIDIA is now like, I think, the number 3 most valuable company in the world. And, you know, people are probably seeing this. It's like, all right, buy some more NVIDIA stock.
Buy more NVIDIA? Well, Google's building these models on their TPUs. And
wait, what? Actually, can you explain the difference between a TPU and a regular GPU?
Probably not, but I can try. So I think Google came up with TensorFlow. It's a framework for building neural networks and working with machine learning applications, everything from training to inference and maybe even deployment. I'm not sure. But to optimize these applications, you know, Google has been gung-ho on AI for a while, and they wanted to build their own chips to run on their servers, on these edge devices, on the Google Pixel Pixel phone, and like the customized chip that they have on these devices. So it's similar to a GPU. It does parallel calculations really well, really quickly. But, you know, with some architectural differences, probably to be more efficient to run these neural networks. So they've been working on this for a couple years, and I think Amazon's working on these too. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
There were some preliminary news articles saying that they're starting to work on them, and maybe we can move on to the next topic for today, which is Sam Altman trying to raise 10% of the entire world's economy. You know what's not cool anymore? $1 billion. It's cooler to have $1 trillion, or specifically $7 trillion, which Sam Altman is trying to raise to start developing his own chips to compute all of these things.
Yeah, because I think that I don't know. I was looking to try to figure out how big the size of the world economy actually is. I think it's some estimates say it's around 100 trillion. Some people say like 105 trillion. Like, so for reference, like Japan is about 5 trillion. So he's trying to raise like slightly more than the entire GDP of Japan.
And Japan's was like the 5th largest economy in the world or something?
Yeah, I think it's 3rd.
Wow,
I think it's the 3rd largest economy in the world, if I remember. I think it's number 1 is the United States. Mm-hmm. So in this picture, it shows that the United States is 21 trillion. China, their GDP is 14 trillion. Japan is 5 trillion. Germany is 3.8. So this is slightly more than the GDP of Japan and about half of that of China. But the crazy thing is I think he just might get it. And I think I was kind of, imagining, what he's potentially telling all these rich guys, all these investors. He's probably going like, look, you see what I built? I took the world by storm. ChatGPT. Everybody's using it. Like, fastest growing product in history. We are making images text to image. It's like, I did that. OpenAI, we did that. Just today. Text to video, right? And I'm telling you this. Like, I need just, like, actually, forget how much I'm going to ask for a second. I'm going to take the money and I'm going to raise it to build hardware and software that will be a revolutionary thing, because this will not just like be a marginal improvement over, the world's economy. This will be not just like 10% or 20%. This will literally 110,000, like probably 10,000x the entire world's economy. And this, I promise you, will be the last investment that you will ever need to make in your entire lifetime. Because I will take this money and we will build not just artificial general intelligence, but no, we will build artificial super intelligence, which will be when the computers get so smart, they just continue to improve on themselves, and the world and the technological innovations will increase at such a rapid rate that we can't even imagine what it will look like. And that, my friends, is the singularity. Now, let me ask you this. For 100,000x increase on the world's economy in an age of abundance and prosperity, how much would you pay? I'm not even looking for $100 trillion, not $50 trillion, but for you today, the low price of, like, the size of Japan's GDP, whatever. I mean, great country, love Japan, but just like their economic activity for 1 year, I could take that and then bring into the world an age of abundance, and you will get on the ground floor of that. I think he's going to get all the investors, I'm telling you.
I mean, with that pitch, I'm sold.
Yeah.
I think, not just AGI, artificial super intelligence, a step beyond AGI, where the models continue to improve themselves. I think we can get there in our lifetime.
I mean, Ray Kurzweil thinks it'll be 2045. I mean, maybe.
Yeah, I wonder what he thinks about all of this.
He's probably like, I was right.
What do you think he's using the funding for, to build new chips?
I think so. I think that I would assume that he's going to be building massive chip fabs. So, or like, I guess another way to think about this is the size of Apple's market cap is like $3 trillion. And I remember it was something like the total size of the semiconductor industry was like in the low, like $1 or $2 trillion dollars. But it kind of depends on how you measure it, right? So like if you say like, oh, Apple's a semiconductor company and they're $3 trillion, and then Google's like $2 trillion, something like that. Mm-hmm. Like Amazon's another $2 trillion. So it's like, he's trying to raise like the market cap of these companies. Mm. I mean, will he get it? I don't know, but he'll probably be able to get at least some percentage of that. And with that, he'll be able to create new chip architectures, both for training new models and then also inference and inference on the edge. And then he will be able to hire, pay, and retain the top AI experts in the world, and all the people he needs to be able to do this. And also, I assume to build the factories, and maybe he'll just keep some of that too. I don't know.
So Sam Altman, from my understanding, seems like a mission-driven person. He, along with a couple of the people, started OpenAI because they wanted to ensure that we can reach this future of super intelligent computing, and also have like a hedge against Google, because when they were first founded, like 10 something years ago, Google was the only company that was working on AI. They had, to the extent that they had just acquired DeepMind, I think, and they had the world's best AI researchers. Maybe there were one or two at Facebook, but they just wanted to have another set of minds thinking about this problem. And they've done amazing work. But today, in terms of hardware, chip manufacturing, we have so many companies. Why do you think he didn't want to partner with, maybe leaving out NVIDIA, there's so many other companies?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. It would probably, potentially be like, one step up. But I think that there is benefits to vertical integration. And if you're building the hardware and the software, I mean, literally, I don't know of any company that is building all of the hardware and the software right now. I think the closest company we have is maybe like some of the big ones like Google or like Apple. Apple's a big one, but I don't
Definitely Apple.
Apple even builds the hardware themselves, right? Like
They design
it, but then they give it to TSMC in Taiwan to get
the entire world does that.
Right. Everybody does that, right?
So think he's looking to build like the fabrication.
I mean, I can't imagine that he wouldn't, right? Like, I mean, if you're going to raise that much, you're going to try to build everything end to end. And I think also there's the geopolitical risk of Taiwan, right? Where, for all we know that they're going to be absorbed by China, maybe TSMC will.
I think because of their crucial position in this entire computing world, they've kind of built an intellectual defense against China. I think if anything happens to Taiwan, the entire world will be there to ensure that nothing goes wrong in this entire supply chain.
Well, I agree. That is likely true. But there are very few companies that are key to the making of chips, right? There's TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, in Taiwan, who makes all the chips, and then there's also ASML, which I forget what they stand for, but they do the
Advanced Semiconductor Machine Lithography, I want to say, is the last two ones.
That sounds right. So don't ask me exactly what they are used for. It's something about cutting into the chips or something. Anyways, I don't know exactly, but I know both of those are really important. And I would think that if you're going to try to do this whole thing end to end, you're going to try to replace TSMC. You're going to try to replace ASML. You're going to design the chips. You're going to design the software. You're going to make the most fastest, the most efficient, the best software and hardware combination in the world, and then own everything end to end. I think that's his goal, and he might do it.
There seems like there might be a big need for that as we rely more and more on these models to outsource the work that we do. We'll use more computation, need more chips, need more servers, and the cycle is endless. And like you said, if there's a vertically integrated hardware company that designs, fabricates, manufactures, writes the software, everything all in one, I could see a significant jump in performance, cost, and every other feature.
Yeah. So anyways, in other news, I think it was just yesterday, Andrej Karpathy announced that he was leaving OpenAI. I don't know if there's any drama there.
Yeah, I read his tweet. He said it has nothing to do with drama. He loves the company. He said there's great people. They're doing awesome stuff. He left a little nugget. He said if for the people who follow him closely, they'll know, they'll kind of have an idea about what he's thinking of next. And he said he's going to work on his personal projects, whatever that means.
Competitor to OpenAI?
I don't know. I doubt it.
One thing I wonder, when I saw that, I saw it like semi-recently, within the last few months, he was posting about his idea to build an AI operating system. and I'm wondering if he wants to go and build that.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. So my understanding is, and I'll see if I can pull up a picture of it. But a regular operating system is broken up into certain modules. Like you'd have a RAM. You'll have like, or I guess you like your computer, right? You're gonna have like your RAM, your file system. You're gonna have a CPU. You're gonna have input, output, I/O, stuff like that. And I think what he wants to do is make it so that let me see. I wanna find the picture. I can't remember. Maybe Shashank, because you can find the picture on his Twitter. It's pretty enlightening. But basically, the idea is that you will be able. Oh, I think I found it. Okay, here we go. So basically, like, what you would do is you would have the LLM kind of operate like the CPU, and the RAM would be like the context window. Then you would be able to write things, from your RAM to the disk, and plus the embeddings. And then you would also have the LLM be able to interact with other 1.0 software tools, like your terminal, or like a calculator, maybe like and then also it could interact with like the browser, and other LLMs, plus peripheral devices like video and audio, just any I/O that it could potentially have, would all be able to be fed into the input of the LLM. So, in other words, right, you'd have the LLM be kind of the main thing which controls all parts of the computer, right? So you'll have the language model write to disk, use other software on the computer, browse the internet, talk to other LLMs and other computers, and get input from the world. And you'd essentially be able to make an entire AI, like LLM-based operating system. And I think that might be a thing that he may want to work on. I don't know if he was able to do that at OpenAI. Maybe they're focused on, taking over the world, and they didn't want to focus on this. But I think that he thinks this is a good idea. I think it's a cool idea, and I'd like to see that. So I wonder if that's what he's going to work on.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand how this is different from... Yeah, I'm looking at the same image. And so this is similar to what custom GPTs do, where you can empower GPT-4 with a lot of custom functionality to be able to browse the web, generate images, give it documents, hook into any other API that you want. I'm also thinking that this seems similar to some of the large action models, where you have multiple agents that interact with other APIs that you expose and carry out actions on your behalf. But maybe how this differs is that it's more tightly integrated with your computer. So it's a local optimized LLM, and has some agentic functionalities in it, where it can carry out maybe multiple prompts in a sequence to accomplish a larger goal by interacting with lots of different I/O, lots of different applications, and utilize the computer's hardware more effectively.
Yes, it is very exciting, and who knows if that's what he's going to work on. But I think there's a good chance that he may try to do something similar to what they do with agents, but maybe, I don't know, open source it, maybe make it a little bit more formalized, or maybe For all we know, he might just go and produce a bunch of content to help people learn, which would be great.
I mean, he's had amazing videos for the basics of building neural networks and building like a GPT from scratch.
Fantastic videos.
But it seems like OpenAI has been, consistently churning out amazing products, and maybe he doesn't feel like he can add that much more value because,
maybe everybody's already watched his videos.
So speaking of OpenAI again, do we want to talk about their latest announcement?
Oh my God, Shashank, I think we buried the lead, but today had so much news. Like, before we even talk about their latest announcement or latest couple announcements, like, all to our dear listener, today is February 15th, 2024, the day after Valentine's Day. And oh my God, all the stuff that we're talking about happened like today. It was announced today. So we're not even done. All right. Last thing.
This is a big one.
Huge. Text to video. Sora. In Japanese, sky.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah. So I think maybe it's just like the sky's the limit at what they're going to do here. So for those that don't know, OpenAI, they announced a brand new tool called Sora, which is able to take a individual text prompt and generate a minute of video. So they had a bunch of demos on their site. They all look unbelievable. For reference, they look hyper realistic. It looks like somebody filmed it on a video camera or like a cinema camera in various different situations. So, for example, they had a demo of somebody walking in Tokyo. I think the prompt was, young fashionable lady walks around Tokyo at night.
Oh my God, that was incredible.
Yeah.
The lighting, the colors, the consistency and the characters moving around. It was really hard to tell that this was not AI generated.
It looked like I was filming it. And they also made videos of films that kind of looked like Pixar type style, like animated. They made videos of I think they made an entire movie trailer. No audio. I guess that's probably coming next.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
So they made like Mark was saying, there's lots of different styles. This is capable of generating animations, Pixar style, little cute characters that are doing silly, kooky things, realistic videos with humans, and it gets the facial expressions, the movements, the walking, and everything perfectly. It's able to generate animals. It's able to generate scenery, so like drone shots of not just scenery that exists today, but California during the gold rush. There's like a scene where it's panning through a little small town, and you can see people walking around, old cowboy outfits, riding horses, old saloons. But they're also really upfront about this, and they kind of highlight the limitations of this model too. And towards the end, you can see kind of goofy videos where you can see a bunch of foxes that are running around and playing with each other. And out of nowhere, they spontaneously erupt into multiple foxes and, collide and combine together. And there's a video of a basketball going into a hoop, and it just kind of explodes and spontaneously creates another basketball. There's a chair, a regular plastic chair you can buy in Walmart, buried in the sand on the beach, and people are trying to remove it. But the video doesn't understand the consistency of the plastic chair. It just kind of turns it into a piece of cloth, and it folds and starts waving around in the air, and then deforms into another amalgamous object. So it's not perfect, but oh my God, we have come a long way since DALL-E 2.
DALL-E 2, what was that, 2 years ago now?
Yeah, something like that.
It was about 2 years ago. And I thought DALL-E 2 was amazing.
Oh my God, my mind was blown back then too.
Yeah.
That was the whole motivation to start this meetup, to meet other people working on this technology, because we were like, oh my God, this is huge. This is huge now, and it's going to be even bigger.
Yeah, and this is like an order of magnitude better, or multiple orders of magnitude better than DALL-E 2.
Absolutely. So, I mean, definitely going from text to video was a big leap. And we've seen a lot of different open source models and closed source companies working on this problem. Popular ones were Stable Diffusion. They had stable animation. And people were working on trying to just extrapolate the same image and turn it into a video by panning the image, zooming in, zooming out, and having the same image generation model regenerate every single frame. Then you ran into consistency issues because each frame would be slightly different. So they started working on that. There was a really cool company, Runway ML, that released a couple demos. I forget, there was another one, Pika Labs, that generated a really, really cool video, but it was closed sourced and it was just a couple seconds long. This seems to have beaten Pika Labs' demo, and it's just, oh my God.
Yeah, and not to change the topic, but not only this, but Amazon actually just today or yesterday, they announced their world's largest text-to-speech model, which can do emotions for speaking. Yeah, it's very, very good. They had some examples on their website and showed it out, and it was very, very impressive. So, I don't know, what a time to be alive.
Yeah,
I think that in the future, with great text generation, great movie generation or video generation, we're gonna have it where entire movies and maybe video games are generated just on the fly. Maybe they'll have a little thing that hooks up to your brain, figures out if you're enjoying the game. If you're not, it'll generate new content for you on the fly, be more fun.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's crazy.
I had a brief moment when I was looking at one of these blooper videos that I felt a slight pang of panic.
Really?
Where, this old grandma is very happy. She's smiling. She's blowing out a candle for her 80th birthday or something. And there's people in the background. They're waving their hands, and their hands kind of like twist and turn in the other way. So it seems like we might be entering a world where AI-generated videos become the norm. And it's a really powerful tool, but also a really scary tool. So they haven't made this publicly available. One of the big obvious concerns is deepfakes. With this, the ability to deepfake will just be supercharged. With the elections coming up, this is a very, very scary tool. So they're very careful about who has access to this tool. They've only given access to what they call red team folks, who are white hat hackers, I assume, who are going to test this tool, see what it can do, what it can be abused for, and find all the weaknesses to try to safely deploy it.
So for those of you who are in OpenAI, who are listening to this podcast for all your tech news and commentary, get us on the red team. we want to use this, okay? So get in touch. You can find our contact information. If you're a smart person who works for OpenAI and you can give us that high level access, give it. I want it.
Maybe thinking about the potential benefits. So I think it'll definitely speed up animation, because going back to the gaming industry, where rendering graphics, simulating light, textures, that was such a complicated problem. But they introduced a lot of approximations and abstractions which made the ray tracing, the ability to simulate lights bouncing from object to object and lighting up a whole room really quick and really simple. So I feel like this is somewhat of a ray tracing moment for 3D models and 3D animations. So instead of manually creating 3D characters and creating the motion, having motion capture artists, maybe they can just prompt engineer a Pixar movie.
Yeah, that's right.
I think this is significantly going to disrupt the entertainment industry, especially like, and maybe not just animation industry, because this can generate realistic looking graphics too.
You know, one thing that I wonder is, I think that it may disrupt it slightly, but I think that, making a lot of these movies is, requires a lot of, highly trained storytellers. One thing that I think that this will disrupt even quicker is like news and then advertising, because I think both of those have much lower effort content. And I think that this will disrupt the freelancer who may have generated like a short form video, or maybe some advertising. And I think that those who were just churning out content of potentially low quality, that their days are numbered.
What do you think about TikTok?
I think that this will probably make a bunch of garbage on TikTok, which is why the algorithm is important, because the algorithm will hopefully filter out that garbage from the TikTok. But I feel bad for TikTok servers, because they're just going to be there's going to be an influx of new content that is absolute garbage.
How expensive do you think it's going to be to generate one of these videos? So if you think about DALL-E being similar to like a completion for OpenAI's GPT-4, this is, let's say, 30 frames a second.
Is it 30 or is it 60?
No, that's a good question. Let me take a peek.
Let's see. So DALL-E, let's see, how much does it cost? I'm trying to find it. DALL-E 3 costs 4 cents per image. So assuming that, let's say you did a minute and you just wanted to have 60 images. Let's say 60 images.
I would say 30. That seems like
okay, sure,
necessary.
Okay, so let's say 30. So 30 times 4 cents. What is that? 30 times 0.04 is $1.20. I imagine that there's some optimizations, and it's probably not a one-to-one mapping. So I'm going to assume $1.20 is the upper bound. So I would assume maybe 30 cents. I'm going to go with 30 cents for a minute video.
Wait, well, how'd you get the 30 cents?
Yeah. So if an image with DALL-E 3 is 4 cents per image for their API, I've multiplied that by 30, right?
That's a second.
So that's assuming, or 0.04 times 30 is $1.20, right? So that's assuming that you're going to have 30 images per video. But I think there's some optimizations that you can do, right?
Probably.
So like, a lot of the images are similar to each other. Like, so for example, if somebody's walking, the background is the same. So maybe like 80% or 90% of the image is like the same as the previous image in the video, right? So I assume that there is some optimizations there. So I'm going to say, let's say they were able to optimize out like about 40% of that. I don't know, 60%, something like that. Like, to me, like 30 cents, 50 cents, it feels like the right order of magnitude.
Per second?
No, for a minute of video.
30 seconds for a minute of video.
Yeah.
So for context, I'm looking at Marvel movies. The most recent one, The Marvels. cost over $2.5 million per minute.
Yeah, I think these movies will get significantly cheaper going forward.
Yeah, that's a crazy world.
That it will be an multiple orders of magnitude cheaper. But yeah, it is amazing times that we live in. But yeah, we are out of time right now. But thank you for joining us on this wild and crazy news day.
Oh my God. Not every week is this crazy, but some weeks.
You know, it's only going to accelerate once we get the artificial superintelligence. So everybody, pull your pennies together and donate to Sam Altman. I think he needs it.
You know, I'm looking forward to more companies jumping on this text-to-video bandwagon and seeing what they come up with.
So exciting. All right. Bye, everybody.